Hey everyone, the product stream just happened and we got some crazy news about the new anime, and as you might be able to see on the screen here, some changes, actually some really huge changes to game mechanics were standard as well. So those changes will be covered at the end, but there's just a bunch of information that kind of want to go now. There is also another Tuesday stream tonight that will kind of go into more detail on certain things, which I will also make a video on. So, you know, today we're going to be doing 2 Tuesday videos, but this one I just kind of want to get out there because I think this is actually a really good announcement. Like, personally speaking, this is, if we want to talk about like a new series kind of thing, this is still like the kind of overdress, no reboot, blah blah blah, DivineZ. But it's a crucial point for the game because when you have a new series rolling around, a lot of people either get off the game, but it's also a time when a lot of people can get into the game. And that's basically the crucial part, right? Is there going to be more people stopping than more people continuing and starting the game, right? So first off, let's talk about some ban list changes. And this is going to be a huge welcome to everyone who plays Premium. And I think this will be a big thing for the Premium players in English to notice. That is, Meteor is finally banned. It is gone, right? The format is probably saved, at least. We have the worst deck in the format right now, that is Dunzo. If you want to see why it's terrible, I did make a video with my friends explaining like something about the Eve loop a couple of days back, but this is gone in JP, which usually means it's gone in English. Now, we don't know if there is going to be something happening before Worlds, but there definitely is. There's also going to be a Friday announcement, and I feel like that might be one of the fastest announcements that they've been doing, so hopefully this gets announced and we get like a long time kind of mull over everything, right? So very good news. No changes in V Standard and Standard. I really don't think there needs to be any changes, but there are still actually changes for Standard. So we're going to go into that later. Let's take a look at the anime, right? So here is some of the characters. The main characters is Akina Myoto, right? The premise of the anime season is that it's going to be there's like 6 fated card fighters or duelists, and they all have these fated cards, and then they're gonna have a fated duel or fated fight. So it's kind of like, I don't know, people saying it's like Fate Stay Night, but with card games. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. This is Akina Myoto. He's running Fated One of Miracles Raziel, and do notice that all of these, not dragons, but I guess these units will have the Fated One in their names. Fated One of something. And this is a Keta Sanctuary. So if you saw my predictions, apparently I only got 2 out of 6 right. And yeah, I think it's pretty funny because, yeah, this is Keta. I got the 50-50 wrong. This is looking pretty nice, right? But then the second card we're going to see is Taizo. So Taizo is back. He's playing the Fated One of Guiding Star Welstra Blitz Arm. So upgrade to Welstra. And, I mean, he's looking actually pretty Chad here. Right, he's pretty Chad. Of course, he's Brandgate. We know who he is. We've seen him before. Then the next one we have is Masanori. So he's back too. And he's got Zorga Nadir. So Fated One of Taboo, Zorga Nadir. And he is running, you know, of course, Destroy Kea. And, I mean, this guy is looking like crazy. It's actually looking crazy. Now, the next one we have is Nao Inabe. And she is actually Dragon Empire. And she is rocking the Fated One of Unparalleled Vanguard Drag Race. And, I don't know, she, apparently, she's looking, this is looking like really cool character. I'm not gonna lie, right? But apparently she's Akina's, like, senpai. She's, like, a university student who wants to go pro in Vanguard. So yeah, very cool. Then the next card we have is, well, next character is Mikoto Saito. And this one, she's running Fated One of Ever-Changing Chris Rain. And this is Lyrical Monasterio. So this is actually looking like a really slick card too. Look at this. Actual crazy. Alright, actual crazy. Then the last of the 6 we have is Suro Yobitsuki. And he is rocking up the Fated One of Zero. Blangdemir? And yeah, this one is Dark State. So we've got one of every single nation coming in. And honestly, all the cards look really cool. Even like the ones that are coming back. The new forms are actually looking crazy slick. So huge cool stuff happening there. I'm not gonna lie. The anime is actually looking really nice. I might have to watch it. I might have to watch it. Then after that, we got Hikari Myoto, which is Akina's sister. Apparently she's sick. So if you win like the fated duel thing or the tournaments, you get a wish, or you can change the destiny. So I'm guessing Akina wants to make sure she's not sick, right? And then other people have their own desires. But also, Megumi is back, and she's I guess they haven't really figured out what her card is going to be. I assume there's going to be an upgrade. She's filling the role of the card shop owner, right? The mentor for everyone else. And yeah, that's nice. I guess that's cool. And then lastly, we got Gabuelis. And this is, a lot of people are wondering, like, you know, wow, Fukuyama Jun is in the anime. Who is he going to be? And he's actually voicing the mascot character, which is funny, right? And he said he couldn't say much on stage. I'm assuming there's going to be a pretty big plot twist, right? This guy, maybe he's like secretly Gize or something like that. Or he's like turns evil. If you've seen some of the other funny mascot characters that don't become mascot characters, you know, it happens. Yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I'm actually quite excited. The main character, the voice actor for Akina, right? He's a huge fan of Vanguard. Toshiya Miyata, right? Huge fan of Vanguard. So very cool to see someone who's like passionate about the game, voicing the series, and it just means like it just means there's like some love there, right? Some love into what you like. So big props to him. And they did announce also some crazy stuff. Look at this. This is crazy. So on February 9th, the week after Worlds happens, they're releasing Booster Pack 1, which contains 4 of the new ride lines, or the new grade 3s. And then afterwards, on the April 5th, they will have Booster Pack 2, which will have the last 2. So I'm thinking, you know, the first 4 seem like pretty good characters, and the last 2 seem like antagonists. Yeah, right? You know, Masanori wasn't always the nicest guy out there. You look at the character for Vladimir, right? Didn't look like the nicest guy too. Looked like a pretty antagonist type. So I do want to also point out that this means Lyrical is main set material. Look at this. She's right here. She's in set 1, which is something I feel like they should have done, right? One of the criticisms about, you know, the Booster Pack product recently is that, you know, Lyrical comes out, it's its own set, doesn't get support for ages. Then we have a bunch of booster pack like boxes or set releases that have a bunch of like random stuff in there that just shouldn't exist, like just a bunch of bulk. If Lyrical is in the main set, that means it gets constantly supported. It doesn't need to have like a weird shooting scale where it's like super overpowered or super underpowered for like X months. It also means that, you know, that bulk that you normally get in booster boxes can now be good stuff, right? Can now be just better stuff. It does kind of beg the question a bit though. There's only 4 main lines, I guess, in set 1. So will the booster boxes be different ratios? That's something we're gonna have to see in the future. But for now, that's a pretty good sign for Lyrical, at least, or just for the general health of the game. Next we have is the new mechanic that we're getting. It is the Divine Skill. This is basically, if you played Pokemon, it's like V-Star. It's just a once per fight mechanic that you can use that will change the turn, the course of the battle. So it's like a once per game skill, right? I think Buddy Fight players call it like Overturn, but yeah, this is just a once per fight skill and could be very strong. I'm pretty interested to see what will happen, right? What are these skills gonna be? They could even be like, you know, they could slap like defensive mechanics on these that could be really crazy. I don't know, right? I don't know. We'll have to wait, right? We'll have to wait to find out. But apparently only these cards have it. Only the faded ones, faded 1 cards have this skill, so it should be pretty crazy. And then the next here we have, here's what I want to talk about. So the schedule of release, so this booster pack is coming here. This kind of makes the start decks for us kind of jank, because all the main cards are going to be here in the booster pack 1 and booster pack 2, right? So I don't know, the start decks here just seem like a bit iffy. And of course, if you're new to the game, sure, you know, it's a great learning tool. But for us that we're like seasoned players or players that have been playing for a while, I feel like these are very, very skippable. They'll be basically like glorified trigger packets, right? Because just buying it for triggers, yeah? Because if we look at the contents of what is in Booster Pack 1, it's actually pretty crazy. Like, the contents seem pretty good. Like, look at this. We're getting a bunch of the OTs are getting reprinted. So the blue and red OT getting reprinted is pretty good, because right now, the price of them are actually insane. We have the Sentinels as well, right? But also we have triggers. So these triggers do not have nations. They are just, you can use them for anything. So I guess like even the start decks, like you're buying them for fancy triggers, like, or it's like a glorified PR pack, maybe. But yeah, so a bunch of these like required cards are getting reprinted, so it's not like, you know, you're getting good cards and then you're getting required stuff. I guess you're not getting effect triggers, right? Well, they haven't announced it yet, but they are. The effect triggers are kind of like in the triple drive set, and they're also as a PR in the quick start deck. So I guess like they're already there, so they're much more accessible. But let's kind of take a look at the new mechanics, and these are actually really huge. So first off, we have is big changes. So the first one is the standard deck rule change. This one is that your main deck used to be, you know, your main deck and ride deck used to be 50 cards, so you'll have 46 in the main deck and 4 in the ride deck, or, you know, 45 and 5 in the ride deck if, like, you have some weird mechanics. What's gonna happen now is that your main deck is just gonna be 50 cards, right? And your ride deck will just be separate. So normally you'll have 4 cards in the ride deck, and then you'll always have a 50 card main deck. So now, like, people have been complaining, you know, triggers are so impactful because you see them more often, you know, I deck out a lot, blah, 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 blah. A 50 card deck is actually quite significant. It does add like pretty much an extra turn to a lot of games that go long, and it means that your trigger compression is like slightly lower, and it just also means that, you know, decks who run like, you know, X card ride decks, like we've seen decks that have like 5 card ride decks, right? Their trigger compression is like naturally lower or better when you in the old way, but now the ride deck is just totally separate. Also means they can do a lot of things with the ride deck when you think about it. You know, you can add like even bigger ride decks, you know, like 8 card ride decks, you know, 6 dragons, like 6 card ride, I don't know. There could be a lot of things they can do with it because it doesn't affect your main deck anymore, which is actually very, very cool. So that's nice, like that's great. But the second change also has to do with going first, right? Determining who goes first. So before it was you do in Japan you did Junkenpon, or you did rock paper scissors. In the West we usually just roll a dice. Whoever wins the dice roll or rolls the highest, for example, has to go first. But now the winner gets to choose if they want to go first or second, which is big, right? If you win the dice roll, you can. If you really want to go second, you can, and it means that like. There's some formats like premium, for example, or old G format, I guess. Premium nowadays is kind of weird, right? Old G format where, you know, you want to go second, you can now, you can choose, and it does have to add like an extra element of skill, because when we see some of the other stuff that's happening, maybe going second is gonna get like better than going first, right? So let's mull that in our heads a bit. This change is coming into effect on January 19th. Now, if you don't know what that means, is that JP Worlds is happening on February 3rd, right? It's the same date as our English Worlds. So these changes are gonna be in effect for JP Worlds. Does that mean these changes will be in effect for English Worlds? Because if it does, that actually does change a lot of things. It adds this extra interest into standard, because you're like, wow, there's some changes that, you know, these good players, or the top players, will have to adjust to. How are they adjusting to it, right? And I did see like that, you know, the English Cardfight Vanguard Twitter has been, you know, posting to stay tuned to this Friday, which is really fast. I have to say, this is probably going to be maybe some quickest news update that we might see in the past few times, right? I guess, you know, the ban list, you know, slowed things down. They're probably, I don't know. It adds an extra level of like, what if, right? And if this does come into effect for English Worlds as well, I would be very excited, right? Very, very excited. And then lastly, there is also one big change apparently, and that is this new crest. This is a new system that is going to be applied. We don't know the specifics of it. It's called the Energy Generator, right? And you have a crest called the Energy Counter System. This will be announced or more explained in tonight's YouTube channel. And so that's why we're going to cover it, right? That's why we're going to cover it. But it does mean that it could be big news. It might add costs, right, to the game, or it might give you more. It adds like an extra level, an extra layer where, like, you know, for example, going second is like really kind of bad at the moment. But if you get more energy that you can use for things, right, that can maybe slow down the game or they can kind of treat this energy generator quest as like a harmonics messiah of like standard. They can add things to it to balance the game more. Then it might be the things that we're looking for, right? Extra defensive mechanics, things where like going second, just just die to like one opening crit, power level skyrocketing up. Yeah, so this is going to be explained later. We'll talk about that later, and then just talk about the impacts of it, and then the other stuff that is announced later on. But basically, every single news that we've seen today so far has been really, really positive. I think the one thing that I haven't mentioned in this video yet is that there's a big push for getting new players. So they're going to be doing like a big learn to play event around the world. Or not around the world, around Japan. Right, where they're going to be like, just having, people in stores teaching you how to play the game with those quick start decks, right? And that's definitely like one way to get a lot of people interested in the game, which is great, right? This is how you get people into seats, get people playing to the game. The thing is, you're going to get like so many people like trying to learn, and probably like less than 10% stay. But that's just how it is, right? You just need volume and people getting interested, and later on, people will see your IP and go, hey, maybe I have more money now. I want to play the game, or I have more time. Maybe I'll just play it. All my friends are doing. I'll jump in, right? So that's one of the good things that they're doing. But the second thing is also that they did say that there's going to be like Vanguard's now going to be in Koro Comics, which is a big comic kind of thing in Japan. Like it's like think about Shonen Jump, where you have like a bunch of comics there, right? This is kind of I want to say it's a Shonen Jump, but it's directed for kids. It has like a lot of things like Beyblade and things like that. So this is directed. It's directed for everyone because like kids will read it, right? But the thing is, when you get kids interested, then they grow up to be card game players, and later on they might continue supporting a game, because a lot of players like who play Vanguard now, they used to be kids or in high school, and now they are just old. Like maybe not me, I'm not that old, but you might be old, right? But we're eventually gonna grow out of it, maybe, or maybe not. But we're eventually gonna have other things happen. So it's not sustainable to always just cater to like the people in the 20s, right? You need still new blood getting to the game. Other games do it very well, like Pokemon. They just throw money at it. So it's very cool to see that they're targeting, the younger audience, right? You have things like, the beginner's world, which is just if you're new to the game, there's like a tournament just for you, right? So you're not daunted by like, Mr. Sweat here going 50 combo before you're dead, right? But then there's also other tournaments where it's only for like juniors or like people in like elementary and like middle school. Then those tournaments for them, it's like kind of juniors and seniors in Pokemon. So those kind of tournaments will foster like kind of a nice little community where they'll eventually grow up to players, and that is good to see. That means that you have that means Bushiroad is very committed to their product. They recognize what they need to do, and they're recognizing the long-term requirements on keeping Vanguard successful. So that is just what I want to say today. Again, another video will be up later discussing the Tuesday night stream, but just this kind of information from the stream this time was actually very, very great, right? It showed confidence in the IP, which is something that I feel like they lacked in the last stream, for example. I just feel like they don't know what they're doing. But this time, bam, big confidence, right? Big confidence. So very happy to see what they did, and hopefully, this is very, very good news for Vanguard. So that is just me for now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you all very, very soon. All right, bye.